7195. What should a pilot do if a small hole is seen in the fabric of a balloon during inflation? A. Continue the inflation and make a mental note of the location of the hole for later repair. B. Instruct a ground crew member to inspect the hole and, if under 5 inches in length, continue the inflation. C. Consult the flight manual to determine if the hole is within acceptable damage limits established for the balloon being flown. The correct answer is C. Safety and Flight Manual. The flight manual provides essential information and guidelines specific to the balloon being flown. It contains important instructions on inspections, limitations, and procedures to ensure safe operations. Assessing acceptable damage limits. When a small hole is seen in the fabric of a balloon during inflation, it is crucial to assess whether the damage is within acceptable limits. The flight manual will define these limits, specifying the maximum allowable damage size or criteria for continued flight. Balloon fabric integrity. The fabric of a balloon plays a critical role in maintaining its structural integrity and safety. Any damage, including holes, can compromise the fabric's strength and affect the overall performance of the balloon. It is essential to determine whether the observed hole falls within acceptable limits to ensure continued safe operation. Flight manual guidance. The flight manual will provide specific guidance on the actions to take when damage is observed during inflation. It may outline inspection procedures, repair instructions, or limitations for continued inflation and flight based on the extent and location of the damage. Compliance with manual instructions. As a responsible pilot, it is important to adhere to the guidance provided in the flight manual. Consulting the manual and following its instructions regarding the assessment of the hole's size and location will help make an informed decision on whether to continue the inflation or take necessary repair measures. Based on this reasoning, Option C accurately states that the pilot should consult the flight manual to determine if the hole is within acceptable damage limits established for the balloon being flown. This ensures that the pilot follows the recommended procedures and guidelines specific to the balloon, maintaining safety standards and appropriate actions in response to the observed damage. 7197. The recommended size for a balloon launch site should be A. 500 feet on the downwind side. B. Twice the height of the balloon. C. 100 feet for every 1 knot of wind. The correct answer is C. Wind considerations. The size of a balloon launch site is important to ensure safe operations during the launch phase. Wind plays a significant role as it can affect the control and stability of the balloon during inflation and ascent. Wind speed and site size. The recommended size of the launch site should be 100 feet for every 1 knot of wind. This implies that as the wind speed increases, the required size of the launch site should also increase proportionally. Adequate space for maneuvering. A larger launch site provides more space for maneuvering the balloon during inflation and launch. It allows the crew to position the balloon properly, account for wind drift, and ensure a safe takeoff without any obstructions or potential hazards. Wind speed conversion. The recommendation of 100 feet for every 1 knot of wind indicates a linear relationship between wind speed and the size of the launch site. For example, if the wind speed is 10 knots, the recommended size of the launch site would be 1,000 feet. 10 knots multiply 100 feet per knot equals 1,000 feet. Safety and operational considerations. The recommended size of the launch site takes into account safety factors, including wind effects on the balloon and clearance from obstacles. It provides adequate space for the balloon to inflate, rise, and maneuver without encountering any significant risks or limitations due to limited space. Based on this reasoning, Option C correctly suggests that the recommended size for a balloon launch site should be 100 feet for every 1 knot of wind. This guideline helps ensure sufficient space and safety during the launch, considering the wind conditions and the need for maneuverability of the balloon. 7198. FT may be possible to make changes in the direction of flight of a hot air balloon by A. Using the maneuvering vent. B. Operating at different flight altitudes. C. Flying a constant atmospheric pressure gradient. The correct answer is B. Altitude effects. The altitude at which a hot air balloon operates can have an impact on its direction of flight. This is because wind currents can vary at different altitudes due to factors such as atmospheric conditions, terrain, and local weather patterns. Wind shear. Wind shear refers to the change in wind speed and direction with increasing altitude. By ascending or descending to different altitudes, a hot air balloon may encounter wind currents with different speeds or directions. This can provide opportunities to navigate or steer the balloon in a desired direction. Steering techniques. Hot air balloons are generally at the mercy of the wind and do not have direct steering mechanisms like fixed-wing aircraft. However, experienced pilots can use their knowledge of wind patterns and the variation of wind currents at different altitudes to make intentional altitude changes and take advantage of favorable winds to alter their direction of flight. Wind layers. By ascending or descending, a pilot can enter different wind layers that may have varying speeds or directions. They can choose a wind layer that aligns with their desired direction of flight or offers better navigational options. Limited control. It is important to note that hot air balloons have limited control over their direction compared to other aircraft. While altitude changes can provide some opportunities for altering direction, the extent of control is still subject to wind patterns and available wind layers. Based on this reasoning, option B correctly suggests that operating at different flight altitudes may be possible to make changes in the direction of flight of a hot air balloon. By selecting different wind layers or encountering varying wind currents, a pilot can potentially influence the balloon's direction to some extent. Q7199. What action is most appropriate when an envelope over temperature condition occurs? A. Land as soon as practicable. B. Descend and allow envelope to cool before landing. C. Throw all unnecessary equipment overboard in order to lighten the load. The correct answer is A. 1. Safety concerns. An envelope over temperature condition in a hot air balloon indicates that the temperature of the envelope fabric is exceeding its safe limits. This can pose a risk to the structural integrity of the envelope and compromise the safety of the flight. 2. Risk of damage. Excessive heat can cause the fabric of the envelope to weaken or even melt, leading to potential tears or holes. This can compromise the envelope's ability to contain the hot air and maintain the desired shape and buoyancy. 3. Rapid response. When an over-temperature condition is detected, it is crucial to take immediate action to prevent further escalation of the issue. Continuing to fly in this condition increases the risk of additional heat-related damage and potential safety hazards. 4. Preventive measures. Landing as soon as practicable allows for the envelope to cool down and reduces the risk of further damage. By safely bringing the balloon to the ground, the pilot can assess the situation, inspect the envelope for any signs of damage, and take appropriate measures for repairs or maintenance. Based on this reasoning, option A correctly suggests that the most appropriate action when an envelope over temperature condition occurs is to land as soon as practicable. This prioritizes the safety of the flight and minimizes the potential risks associated with an overheating envelope.